I believe I got up sometime around 5:30 in the morning. It was about 15 minutes later that I had the blueberry muffin, the apple cider vinegar, and the coffee, which Dad all prepared for me. And by that point, I had just one side left to complete, but the catch was this one side was one of the big sides that made up a majority of the surface area of the styrofoam piece. And the most important, as well as the one I ended up making the front, because while at times I found myself more impressed with the sunflower back side, is the front side that had Grandma's favorite colors that Mom told me. Through tulips and the berries I picked out for the berry bush. I gave it a simple stone pot to be in behind the tulips. I would have had thoughts of making it a cobblestone pot. I didn't have the time though. From the time I got up until about 11:45 a.m. to noon, when Mom picked me up at Dad's apartment unit, I spent a majority of my time in order to do the whole berry bush. Doing the berries first, then some leaves, then more berries, then more leaves, then the bush itself, then that stone pot, then in order to finish the sky, after drawing in the sun, represented by a yellow circle, circle, I had to finish up the sky, including the part that was visible within the roots/branches of holes of the berry bush. Near the top of the stone pot, I had to do that part while Mom drove to Grandma's place. Well, luckily, it's about an hour away from Dad's apartment unit. Since this was Mom's side of the family, Dad's parents are about 5 to 10 minutes away, so if this was if I had to do that, finish it in the car ride for his parents, I probably wouldn't have been able to finish it in time. Either way, I managed to finish it during the car ride. Luckily, none of doing the sky, it didn't involve anything too delicate. I'm currently trying to trade for that wine I need. Anything too delicate, aka something that needed precision, which is why right before Mom picked me up at Dad's apartment unit and I left to go to Mom's car after I had packed the stuff I needed earlier, since after having me visit Grandma for Mother's Day at her place, Mom took me back home. It's why I prioritized finishing the berry bush then over the sky, because while doing the bush, there were times where I had to be precise with either a fine or ultrafine dark green Sharpie marker in order to go around the tulip flowers / bulbs. I believe they're technically the tulip flowers, though, for the most part. Berries and little holes I had created. Since a bush isn't completely solid, at Grandma's place, when we got there, I had Mom wrap the styrofoam drawing using both wrapping paper and a tape roll Dad lent to us. While I went and came to Grandma first, so I could distract her and she wouldn't see Mom wrapping that styrofoam drawing, or worse, the drawing itself. Once we were inside, for the most part, it was Mom and Grandma making conversation between each other. I think I made some conversation with them, at least a little. Generally about memories we've had in the past. And future events. We decided to have a meal in which Mom placed an order at a local restaurant called I believe the Whitesville House. Yeah, Mom and I walked there. It took us probably a handful of minutes to get there. A short walk. The inside of the restaurant was pretty great. One little wall, side wall, you might call it, was covered with various classic board games. Outside while we walked there were kids playing basketball. It's a rural neighborhood in that it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but many parts of the United States are like that, since due to the reality is of population density, in that there are pockets of the United States in which many people live together in one area. Those are urban areas or cities. And there are areas where there are handfuls of people here and there. Those are the rural areas. I am currently somewhere in between and have been throughout most of my life. It's a suburban area. Where some parts of it is a grid system and other parts are a cul-de-sac. Where we were at Grandma's place, it was sort of, again, a rural neighborhood next to a sort of downtown area reminiscent of the Brockport downtown area. Though from what I recall, I think that downtown area was still mostly houses with just that business there. There is a tendency for some areas to be mostly houses and some areas to be mostly businesses. That's zoning. I don't think you generally want a business built near homes since they create noise to an extent. For the most part, hey, either way, this business that actually has some, I think is a sort of bar restaurant and has rooms for rent upstairs for if you need to stay over for a night after driving all the way there. Kind of like a motel or hotel. It was a pretty good restaurant as far as things were concerned. There was a bell that's, I think, is only rung by staff. There wasn't a sign that said only staff may ring the bell, though. I think it's rung if a customer tips well. I rung it, but it's not the kind of bell you can ring by simply hitting it. It has this sort of clangor that you move side to side after grabbing it from the bottom in order to hit the sides of the inside of the bell and make the ringing sound. It was a little bell attached to some kind of wooden support beam from what I remember. It was there we picked up some hamburgers and fries. I got fries with my Jiminy Cricket burger, which came with barbecue aioli sauce, onion petals, that looked, when I first looked at them, looked more like something in which a potato was used to make it. You know, potato wedges, something like that. And a slice of pepper jack cheese, although it was hard to notice with the barbecue aioli sauce. Mom felt that sauce would be spicy. I didn't really detect any heat, though. Then again, I do have some tolerance to spicy food. I got an appetizer of poutine. With my burger meal. And Mom I think I got a pickle with it too. And so did everyone else. I think Mom had Grandma's pickle. Since her digestive system currently isn't in the best of shape, so there are certain foods she can't eat. Again, Mom and Grandma generally had plain hamburgers, and we had to pick off the tomato slice and onions that Grandma's burger came with, or maybe she initially picked out Mom's, the one intended for Mom. It was a pretty enjoyable meal. The burger and fries. Mom got some ketchup from Grandma's fridge for dipping sauce for the fries that came with my Jiminy Cricket burger. There seems to be a tendency for Grandma to watch old Western shows, although relatively early on to the visit, the TV ended up being turned off because at one point she paused the show by sitting on the remote. So then the TV was basically turned off. There was a point during the middle of the visit in which Uncle Kevin and Aunt Darla came over. And stayed for some time. They brought some gifts too. In fact, they came around the time. They came after our Whitesville house meal. I didn't feel like finishing my poutine, since by the time it was the last thing, I decided to save that for last. By the time I got to it, I was starting to feel kind of full after having maybe a quarter of it at most, the poutine, with gravy and cheese curds. So I stuck the order of poutine, and Mom stuck some of the fries that came with her hamburger into Grandma's fridge, but we ended up forgetting about it and leaving it in there, since by the time we were leaving, I think it was around 7 p.m. And I think we got there around 2 p.m. We stayed over for hours because there was a point in which Mom went into one of the bedrooms upstairs so she could take pictures of old photos. Since Mom has the sort of hobbies that would make her very interested in old photos, I'm not as interested in old photos. I'm kind of more interested in making creative projects, such as the Styrofoam drawings and the Dan Hamming episodes, though I didn't have any time for that since the gift for Grandma was more urgent and important. Regardless, I appreciate something old surviving this long enough for me to view it with my own eyes in person. During that part of the visit to Grandma, there was a point in which I ended up getting curious about a closed door. So I opened it since it was unlocked. It was another one of the bedrooms and generally had light colors to it. There was another closed door, but I didn't feel like even trying that one. For some reason, that bedroom felt sacred to me, and I didn't know it at the time until later I mentioned the other bedrooms. Apparently, it's sacred. So yeah, I know to try and remember that in the future. There was a point in which I excused myself downstairs since by that point I think today was a sunny day in which it was generally in the 60s or so, which I don't think is that hot. Either way though, inside 60s Fahrenheit in the house, moving around and being upstairs, moving around or being upstairs, even still I think, made me lightly sweat. I excused myself downstairs, so due to concerns the perspiration could cause damage to the old photos. There was also a point earlier in which, as part of the gift giving section to Grandma, Mom gave her some old photos she found online and then found a way to sort of develop into real photos. Earlier there were some clothes Mom got for Grandma. And I think that's generally in the same vein of stuff that Darla and Kevin later gave Grandma in the gift-giving section. Before all of that, there were the cards from me and Mom. And then before that, as the first thing, there was the wrapped styrofoam drawing. Which was opened right after our Whitesville house meal. I think by that point it could be considered lunch. After the visit to Grandma's place for Mother's Day was over around 7 p.m., Now, Mom and I decided to make a quick stop at Wellsville in order to get some Texas Hots and a jar of their sauce. At Texas Hots, a jar of their sauce and some of their hots, or hot dogs with everything on them. Mom had me call them to order ahead and get 22 hots and a jar of sauce. There were points in which Mom only wanted to get 20, but with some convincing, we managed to reach my target of 22. My reasoning being that we don't go to Texas Hots very often. And there's also a tendency for us to give some away to Dad. Since he enjoys them along with us. What I've been filming are 4 of them. Though the 22 Texas Hots and a jar of sauce came to $67.37, with me giving them a $1 tip, since I know that Mom would like me to tip them. And that tip came from the change. Mom gave me 4 20s. She initially thought to only give me 3, but I bumped it up to 4 just to play it safe, and I'm glad I did. No one wants to be in that position where you try to pay for something and then it turns out you don't have enough to pay for it. And you have to either put some stuff back or if someone else is paying for it, get some more money, essentially. We got home, I think, around 9 p.m. I managed to fall asleep. At the front passenger seat. That tends to be where I sit in a car. These days, if my sister isn't also in the car, and then when we got home, I helped bring in that big bag full of individual smaller bags with a handful of hots in them each. It was a short drive from Whitesville to Wellsville, so they hadn't finished our order by the time I walked over real quick after Mom drove into downtown Wellsville so I could walk over and pick up the order. After pay and then pick up the order, but calling ahead was still good, since doing so cut down on wait time for the order to be ready. The inside of Texas Hots also looks good. They have these booths with those old sort of jukeboxes with songs you flip through. Those old things that I recall seeing in one of those old SpongeBob SquarePants episodes about Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. By the time we got home, I felt tired despite the nap on the way home. So, after helping Mom bring some of our stuff in the car in the house, and it turns out while I was doing that, she took care of the trash by moving that green bin out to the curb. I went upstairs to my room, and after setting up the stuff from my computer case for the most part, I ended up taking another quick little nap. Oh, and for the road trip, this sort of road trip, Mom had brought some sparkling ice beverages for me to have as beverages, along with some coconut water beverages, and I think they're called aloe beverages. Those were intended as beverages to be given to Grandma, along with at least one Ocean Spray Diet Cranberry juice drink. Though the aloe ended up being something that upset Grandma's stomach a little. But thankfully not the coconut water. I recall we still left the intended beverages with Grandma with the thought that she'll have the aloe beverages when her digestive system gets better. I think throughout the day I ended up having 2 sparkling beverages. 2 sparkling ice beverages of various fruit flavors. Right before Mom came, I had Dad prepare some more coffee because I like the taste of plain coffee. This was around 11:30 in the morning, as well as prepare for me a cup of water to stay hydrated in another coffee cup. I think one of the beverages was on the car ride to Grandma's place, one of the sparkling ice beverages I had, and then the other one was during the visit at Grandma's place, and some of it, at least a bit of it, on the car ride home from Grandma's place, according to my best recollection. There was also a point around 10:30 in the morning, so before Mom came to pick me up from Dad's apartment unit, in which he gave me some pieces of pizza left over from when we went to Salvatore's the other day, while I was working on that styrofoam drawing gift for Grandma. In which I had to be careful about eating those pieces to ensure I didn't get any grease on that drawing. I estimated that it took 12 hours of work over a few days to complete, though I didn't exactly make a detailed record of how much time the drawing took.